good. Like, Studio Madhouse posted this showcasing the frame by frame, the artwork that they put in, like the time and effort that the staff did for this sequence, and it just looks absolutely gorgeous, especially when you see the colored version in movement and all that. It is, oh my goodness, like, I gotta say, it's good to have Studio Madhouse back. It's good to see them return from the ashes, the return of the king, so to speak, and see this studio, and I know it's the staff, it's the talent behind it, it's not just the studio, but it's nice to see Madhouse and the staff, bringing out quality and bringing out anime that honestly was continuous bangers from the past. Like, if you remember, they made, like, Hunter x Hunter, they made One Punch Man, they made Parasite, they made, like, Ori Monogatari, they made Death Note, they made countless classics decades ago, and, they kind of fell from grace. Everybody knows this story, and they kind of navigated, most of the staff went to MAPPA, and, Madhouse kind of, went under for a little bit. Like, they were just under the water, nobody really talked about them, and a lot of people that were newcomers to the anime industry barely even talked about Madhouse. Hell, most of them didn't even know who Madhouse was. Like, most people that knew Madhouse probably only knew them either by, let's say, Overlord, which is sad, or they would know them by, let's say, I guess Hunter x Hunter. That's a good one, but that's usually the only thing that people would really recognize them as. And the reason why people didn't really know them fully from One Punch Man is thanks to the continuous changes of studios that we've had for One Punch Man. I mean, technically we've only had one, but we know it's getting a new studio that isn't JC Staff, but you get the point. Anyways, kind of fast forwarding to what happens now, basically Frieren Beyond Journey's End is really just a nice showcasing of the return to form. And I mean, we've already kind of seen a glimpse of this, especially with the return of Overlord, like, last year or whatever when we had Season 4. And having this, it's just like, it really shows that the staff in Madhouse really is back, because this animation sequence alone, just for this episode, is just straight up gorgeous. Like, look at the walk sequence here. Like, it's so little, but look at the individual frames. Like, someone had to draw this, and the individual movement here is so beautiful. I love the detail that is just poured into this. And once again, this is just a few seconds I showed you. This doesn't count for the entirety of what this episode really has to offer, and it's just outright gorgeous episode. And I'm happy. I'm so happy I live now in an era, in a time period to where Madhouse is starting to make anime again, and the staff behind it is potentially given a lot more time and love and effort. Like, it's very clear what we're seeing here from Frieren. We know that this series is going to be 2 cores non-stop, like, consecutive. Like, there's not going to be any breaks, split core, whatever. I talked about this in a previous video a few weeks back, but, that's very unheard of. Like, anyone that watches anime in this day and age, like, even, like, if you've been paying attention, most anime now is just split core, and the reason for split core is for the health of production, the health of the animators, etc., because obviously if they kept going without any breaks, the anime production would just break down and they would not be able to finish the said series. And we would have cases like, let's say, Zom 100, we're still waiting for that to return. We had, like, Near this, year, and then we had, Uncle from Another World. It kind of explains itself. I feel like a broken record at this point when it comes to that, but the point is split core is very important. Especially in this day and age where a lot of animators are just very spread thin, and they have so many projects, and there's just not enough animators to go around. So we fast forward to this, it's very clear that the staff behind Frieren has been given a lot of time to work on this show, and Madhouse as a studio is very confident that they're going to be able to get this show complete. For instance, they're going to have, like, I think the show's having 28 episodes. They're very confident that, they're ahead of schedule, they don't have to worry about production, the staff is not being overworked, it has very healthy, like, just production behind the scenes, and that is why we're getting this. And the quality speaks for itself. Like, just imagine if more anime got the amount of time that Frieren is currently getting. I know that this isn't, like, the best anime ever. I know if you want to do cross comparisons with different series that people really love, like, if we wanted to look at, like, Demon Slayer, etc., or even elements of Jujutsu Kaisen, I'm not getting into production. I'm not talking about production, okay? I'm just talking about the way stuff looks. Obviously, you could say that maybe Frieren doesn't stack up to some of those other shows, okay? But it's very clear by just the level of detail that is put into this episode, and just how it doesn't feel like it's just one scene that stands out. Like, the entire episode looks good. Like, it's not just one scene that's just like, oh my goodness, that's an amazing scene. And yeah, I technically have done that already with this sequence, but it's like, the whole episode is very consistent. You could tell the storyboarding behind this episode of Frieren was just consistent all around. There wasn't anything that really just went under, I guess, like poor quality or whatever. It really flowed correctly. And I think that's what makes this episode really shine. It is an absolute banger of an episode, like absolute cinema. It is cinema. I know you probably have heard that meme, but I would say this is legit cinema. This is what I like from anime, and like, oh my goodness, so many of these sequences just look so good. It's very simplistic if you just want to look at it with a pause, but in movement, it's awe-inspiring. It's super good. Now, besides that, I want to talk about Frieren. Like, she is the Slayer. Frieren the Slayer. Literally a demon slayer. And when she trains, Fern, her apprentice, as we know, she's basically a demon slayer pretty much at this point, too. And I love the revelation here, like, just finding out that, she is faster than Frieren. Like, she's able to cast magic a lot quicker than Frieren was ever capable of. And it demonstrates perfectly with the way this episode is. Like, she just continuously fires magic back and forth at this demon without any regard. Like, she just keeps blasting. And it's interesting because if you look at in comparisons, like the mages, okay, like Frieren and Fern here, Frieren is obviously more skilled, she has time on Fern, and this is definitely pointed out in the episode. But the thing is that even though Frieren knows a lot of magic, she's very skilled and has a higher mana capacity, it also takes time to charge magic or cast a spell. And Fern may not have all the knowledge that Frieren has. She may not have the mana capacity, but she has the capabilities of just instantly shooting out a blast of magic without, like, any really time delay whatsoever. And that's very deadly. Like, you imagine someone that is in a magic fight between each other, and let's say they both cast Fireball, okay? And let's say Frieren's Fireball takes 2.5 seconds to launch, okay? Fern could probably dish that out maybe 0.5 seconds. And even though maybe Frieren can kind of somewhat counter and move to a degree, eventually that overall time delay is going to add up and do massive damage to Frieren and whittle her down. Because Fern demonstrated that, yeah, even if you're somehow able to react to one of her abilities, she just spams it. Like, instead of just shooting one fireball, she shoots 10 at once and instantly casts them. And so it's like, maybe Frieren can only cast 3 in 2.5 seconds, while Fern can cast 10 in, 2.5 seconds. So yeah, it adds up. So she's overwhelming. Like, she's just, like, someone that will continuously pump out the spells and overwhelm you to where you crumble, because she's just sending so much overwhelming force at you. It's great. I love the demonstration of Fern's magical ability, and it's a nice way to kind of, put her on par with Frieren without undermining Frieren's magic capacity and how good she is. I think it's a very smart way to write the character, because think about this. It could have been easy for the author to write Fern as, like, oh, Fern is a prodigy, she's a genius, and technically she is a prodigy and genius, but, like, it would be easy to say, oh, she surpassed Frieren, she's stronger than Frieren now. That's what, writers could easily do here. That's not what happens. It's a very nice and organic way to demonstrate how strong she is without undermining everything that was established, because we gotta put this in perspective, okay? If we look at, just how this episode began and how Frieren is as a character and what we know of her, she is literally a Demon King Slayer. Like, with her old adventure party and all that, she hunted down the Demon King. She took down the big bad of the world, and that is not a small feat. I mean, obviously, in the grand scheme of things, of major feats and different stories, etc., Demon King probably pales in comparison to, like, universal threats, but we're just looking at the story in general. Frieren took down an in-game boss, basically, of her story. And because of that, she is strong. And from everything we know, thanks to her long life, she hasn't really aged much. And she's basically at peak performance as the day she took down the Demon King with her old party. So, you factor all these things in, she is deadly. Like, she is not someone, if you are a strong entity, even the Demon King, like, if somehow the Demon King came back or something, even the Demon King probably would not want to directly face Frieren, because he would know how strong she is. He would fear her most likely. So, everything about it is very interesting, because you can't underestimate her, because she is incredibly powerful. She knows a lot of magic, and she is very ruthless when it comes to taking down her opponent. I mean, we've already seen it demonstrated in this episode and the previous episode. So, I like that, once again, that we didn't have Frieren's capacity of strength undermined and instantly surpassed by Fern. I do think eventually Fern might surpass Frieren. It's a possibility, but at the early stages, we're still very early on in the story. It would be too quick for that to happen. So, just a lot to consider when it comes to this episode, and I love the writing of it. The writing is great, the animation and art's great, obviously, and just, like, everything to the tone and the music. Oh my goodness, the music, it's super good. It's so good, like, seriously. I wish I could play the music without getting copyright strike, but, the music of this show is so freaking good. Like, it is beautiful, man. I am definitely going to be buying the soundtrack disc or buying it online or whatever when I can, because I like that soundtrack. It is legit amazing. Probably one of my favorite soundtracks of this year of anime. But, I guess I'm gonna leave it at that. I wanted to talk about this. I love what, Madhouse has been cooking up with their staff, and it's just nice to see the return to form. But, I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much. Be safe, everyone. Stay healthy. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Chibi out.